First things first, game one of the NBA Finals, Celtics Warriors. Let's jump right in. Boston with a miserable third quarter to set up what became one of the best fourth quarters we've ever seen. Boston down 12 to start the fourth, and then something happened, like a light switch. This team turned it on, just raining threes, outscoring Golden State 40-16, the largest fourth quarter point differential in finals history. Al Horford leading the way. He finished with 26. Good for Al. Jaylen Brown had 24. And the Boston Celtics take a 1-0 NBA Finals lead in, how should we call it, very dramatic fashion. Good Friday morning, everyone. Wow. Welcome to First Things First.
What is
right?
See that coming?
It's game one. It's game one.
Who saw that coming? Take your victory lap, my friend. Keep the shades on. You called it.
Do it now.
You deserve it. I'm happy for you, buddy. I mean, I got to ask the question, was this more about the Celtics' fourth quarter comeback, or was this about the Warriors' collapse, or do you just want to take the victory lap and run with it?
Oh, I've been taking victory laps since midnight last night, so I'm a little sweaty. I'm sorry I showed up a little bit late. I ran about 7 miles between the buzzer and the opening of this show.
You're stretching your arms, your triceps.
So welcome to the show, everybody. Well, yeah, my arms, I'm running, it's the full body workout. So welcome to the show, everybody. I'm glad you could join us on such a wonderful Friday morning that I predicted was going to happen. We had 2 wonderful pieces of television history made within the last 26 hours, let's say. Piece number 1, and I want to read it verbatim of what happened. Nick, this is your last chance to join me on the Celtics bandwagon. I'm going to be right. Watch Friday morning. That was just, oh my God, prophetic. I'm like, you call me Puxatawny Phil of the pigskin, but now, oh my goodness, it's Puxatawny Phil of the hardwood Kevin Wildes. And here's the other fascinating piece of television history. In the fourth quarter, when the Warriors had given up the lead, and here comes the Celtics, like Destiny's Highway. Watch out, you can't stop us. Steve Kerr calls a timeout. And it's a wired timeout, Nick. And he says this. They come back from commercial, and they're running the wired timeout and the play. And this is Steve Kerr's quote. We need to play with more force than they do. Right now, they've got a little momentum. We get a bucket, we get a stop, we get the crowd back in, and we're in great shape. As the audio is running, Draymond turns the ball over. Al Horford gets a steal. Al Horford gets a 3, and that's a wrap. From that point on, it's a 14-2 run. Look, there was a little bit of Warriors. It's going to collapse, but that was more about a team of destiny seizing the moment and making my prediction come true. So I had a wonderful time.
I'm glad you finally got around.
I don't know if you saw the game last night. You weren't tweeting me too much.
There's a reason we don't. There's a reason we don't typically have Wildes lead off the show, Brew. It's because we're not ever certain if he's going to actually answer the question. He did eventually get around to it. Was it more about the Celtics comeback or the Warriors collapse? Meanwhile, Wildes is doing his best risky business impersonation. The answer is that was a Warriors collapse.
Good character.
They turned a 15-point lead late in the third into a 15-point deficit late in the fourth. It's a 30-point swing. Jenna already mentioned it was the single biggest fourth-quarter point discrepancy in NBA Finals history. And despite how poorly it had gone at the beginning of the quarter, it's 103-100, Brew. Warriors ball, Warriors lead. And it goes 17-0. 17-0 in the fourth. Steve Kerr got, some people say too cute by half. I'd say too cute by 3 quarters. Andre Iguodala hadn't played in 5.5 weeks. He does not need to be playing fourth quarter minutes. If you were going to try to get somebody maybe some minutes, maybe Gary Payton Jr., who I think could have been useful for their fourth quarter defense. Additionally, Brew, you saw when Iggy was out there, the difficulty of the Warriors are seemingly always supposed to have the best spacing in the league thanks to the gravity of Steph Curry. Well, the reverse gravity is the black hole that is Draymond Green and Andre Iguodala's anti-spacing, which is that's 2/5 of your lineup for half the fourth quarter that is flatly not going to be guarded. This was a devastating loss for Golden State, and I think a little delusional by them. Draymond, after the game, Brew, said we controlled 42 minutes. You were losing at halftime, buddy. You controlled about 6 minutes of the game. Even when Steph was unbelievable in the first quarter, you weren't able to get a large deficit. The Warriors controlled a segment of the third quarter. Aside from that, last night was all Celtics. That's bad news. It's bad news for my pick. It's bad news for your pick. It's bad news for America because Wilds, believe it or not, is on the lower end of the obnoxious Celtics fan scale. Most are way worse.
That's true.
It's bad news after game one.
Entry level.
Yeah.
All right, let me first start off by saying this. And, Nick, you said the opposite yesterday, but I got to go with Wilds. Wilds deserves this. Go ahead and gloat, Wilds, because, look, your recent predictions, Orlando's making the playoffs, the Seahawks are winning the Super Bowl. I mean, obviously, those aren't bad picks. Those were horrific picks. So you got this one right. I will give it to you. Go ahead and have your moment. Because it sounds like Nick is jumping off the Warriors already. I know you're not even extending an olive branch to him, so I don't know where he's jumping to, but I'm sticking with the Warriors. Y'all know what I am. I'm 10 toes down. I was 10 toes down with the Celtics in the East, and I'm 10 toes down now with Golden State in the East.
You picked the Celtics to lose round one. You were one pinky toe down.
I don't even remember that. That was so long ago, I barely remember that. All right, but let me get to the point. The question. Nick, I disagree with you on Draymond's comment. I do think Golden State, even though they were down 2 at half, I think they did control most of the first half. They got whatever they wanted in terms of shots. They got a lot of wide open looks. For some reason, Boston was playing drop coverage against the pick and roll with Steph in the first quarter, and that's why he lit it up for 21 points. But I thought they were in good shape. Obviously, they controlled the third quarter, so I don't totally disagree at all with what Draymond said after the game. But you made some good points about the collapse, and anytime you've been averaging more than 30 points a game in the first 3 quarters, or 30 points per quarter in the first 3, and then you're held to 16, that is somewhat on you. They couldn't hit 3-point shots. They were 2 for 8 from 3 in the fourth quarter. You make a good point. The spacing was off. So whereas in the first 3 quarters, they're getting open looks. They're getting backdoor layups. The driving lanes are wide open for Steph and whoever else wanted to drive. In the fourth quarter, that was all condensed, and you really saw the impact of Boston's physical defense. But really, I felt one of the first times in last night's game in that fourth quarter. But I got to give the Celtics credit. Anytime a team hits its first 7 3-point attempts in a quarter, anytime a team finishes with 9 of 12, 75% shooting from 3 in a quarter, that was a finals record for the fourth quarter, by the way, with 9 threes, you have to give them credit. And I know a few of them were open looks, but there are also several of them were contested, and they were just on fire. I got to credit Jaylen Brown, Wilds. It was like at the beginning of the quarter, he looked at his partner, Tatum, and saw he doesn't have it tonight, Jason Tatum. I got to take over, and he scored 10 points and assisted on the other 2 buckets in a 14-5 run early in the fourth to get him back in it. And I got to credit Ime Udoka, Wilds, because he's stuck with Peyton Pritchard and Derek Wright, 2 bench guys. Marcus Smart played 3 minutes in the fourth quarter. And so credit Udoka for sticking with the guys that were getting him, got him there in the fourth quarter. So I'm going to give the Celtics credit. I'm going to let you gloat, but I'm 10 toes down on the Warriors. I'm not sure where Nick is, but I'm staying.
It's a lot of credit out there. MasterCard Broussard, he's out there giving credit to everybody, but it's still Warriors. Credit to you, credit to you, credit to you, credit to me, Wilds. I want to go back to something you said, and Broussard touch on the Tatum stuff. The Warriors, I know they've got a few banners up on the walls, and I know they can look in their jewelry box and see a few rings, but they were so confident in saying, like, what are you going to do? The Celtics shot the lights out. Al Horford played great, didn't miss a shot in the fourth quarter. But what are the Warriors going to do once Tatum comes back and Tatum starts playing free and loose? I would be very nervous if I were the Warriors going to Sunday. I don't want to look too far ahead, but I felt that there was way too much overconfidence in that postgame.
Oh, I agree with you on that point. I disagree with Brew a bit on as far as how guarded the fourth quarter threes were. Derek White made some, amazing, unbelievable, non-sustainable shots. But Al Horford was wide open the whole time. The Celtics had, if Derek White was a shooter for a quarter, they had 5 shooters out there, and the Warriors weren't able to guard it. And so I think the fourth quarter for Golden State is highly concerning. I think the fact that as soon as the Celtics realized Steph Curry was the guy in the number 30 Warriors jersey and stopped guarding him like he was Russell Westbrook, that Steph Curry, his effectiveness went from